Being a Ravens fan is borderline embarrassing at this point, having to watch the same collapses year in, year out, week in, week out. So let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing the Ravens content every single day. Appreciate all of you that were in the post-game stream and the pre-game stream last night. Was a lot of fun, a lot of rage, a lot of swearing went on in that post-game stream, but I'm going to give my thoughts particularly on the coaching in this video, so make sure to comment down below your thoughts, your opinions on everything. Now, before I even start just ransacking Harbaugh, I want to say that this game isn't fully on Harbaugh. There are other issues to look at with this team. I'm specifically talking about in this video, though, the coaching decisions that happened. So let's jump right into it. First off, the biggest question that people are going to have, right, is why did the Baltimore Ravens not go for it on 4th and 3 or 4th and 2, basically to ice the game, right? You're looking at it, you're going against the Buffalo Bills, who have basically dismantled the Ravens defense in the fourth quarter. They had already put up 3 touchdown drives and consistently moved the ball down the field in a way that made it feel like the Ravens defense had no chance of stopping them. You look at the Bills touchdown drives, 3-minute long, 84-yard drive. Then they had a 3-minute and 20-second drive, a 1-minute and 8-second touchdown drive, and they had a minute and 26 seconds left to go down and ice the game. So it didn't feel like the Ravens defense was going to be able to get a stop. And John Harbaugh made comments today saying basically, we had confidence in our defense to do it. And to John Harbaugh, I say, that's not confidence, that's stupidity, right? You watch the best quarterbacks in the NFL throughout NFL history, where when you know that if you punt this ball to them, if they get a shot, you're watching those games, they get a shot, you know they're going to score. I don't care if it's Allen, I don't care if it's Lamar, Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, Manning, right? You just know they're going to get it done. And this was that type of game. The score's 40-38. And you think defense is going to be the one that wins this game? The Bills have been struggling to stop the Ravens passing game. They're wildly efficient. And the Ravens are in a 4th and 3 situation with one of those quarterbacks, like I mentioned, where you know he's going to get it done with the game on the line. Lamar Jackson. And instead, he decides to punt the ball away. And the Bills end up obviously driving down and scoring. Now, if the Ravens had got that stop, would I have agreed with that call? Probably still not. I mean, I was saying, I wish I tweeted it out, but I was saying to myself, I want them to go for this and, put it on Lamar Jackson's shoulders. I usually tweet out my thoughts when big decisions like that happen so that I can, go back and look at it. But that's kind of the first big problem that I had with it. Now, after the game, Lamar Jackson said that he was cramping a little bit, which is why he didn't kind of, convince Harbaugh to end up going for it. But, if he really was cramping and Lamar Jackson felt like he couldn't have run a play, all right, then sure, punt the ball. I understand that. I don't know the extent of the cramping if that did happen. So, that's kind of the one caveat. Now, obviously, the negative is if the Ravens don't get it, the Bills are sitting in field goal range. The Ravens only have 3 timeouts. That's the difference. My problem was the Bills were going to get to field goal range no matter what. That was my feeling. That was everybody watching that games knew, hey, if the Bills get this ball, they're marching down this field, and it's whether or not Matt Prater knocks down the kick. Now, speaking of the kick, this is the next coaching decision that I had a problem with. The use of the final 3rd timeout. When you have 3 timeouts and the team, they're not trying to get a first down. They're just trying to chew clock, right? When they got to that situation, they were setting up Matt Prater exactly where he wanted to be for what ended up being, let's see, how long was that field goal? What ended up being a 32-yard field goal, right? They're not trying to get more yards. They're trying to position the ball exactly where Prater wants it and chew clock by doing so. So they run the first play, and the Ravens call their first timeout. Totally fine. There's 38 seconds left. There's 38 seconds left. All right. Then they do their 2-yard run. Timeout number 2. I'm good with that. There's 35 seconds left. Then QB kneel or slide or whatever you want to call it. Timeout number 3 with 33 seconds left. Why would you call a timeout with 33 seconds left? Now, casual football talk would say, well, because you want as much time as you can to get the ball back. The problem is, this doesn't give you an opportunity to get the ball back. The Buffalo Bills then obviously take a knee, as they should, and trot out their kicking unit because they had 30 seconds to get a kicking unit out there. We watched Kansas City. The Ravens watched Kansas City. It was primetime. It was Friday night. I guarantee almost every single person on the Ravens organization, they were watching that Chargers-Chiefs game. And especially John Harbaugh. I mean, it's his brother coaching. He definitely was watching. We watched them at the end of the first half do it with like 12 seconds. They, were able to run out their kicking unit and get a 50-plus yard field goal. Not even an easy chip shot. 50-plus yard field goal for Harrison Butker. Knock it through. So, giving them 30 seconds is a monumental amount of time, even with the new kicker to the team, right? Matt Prater's a vet. He knows how to do this. He knows the drill. He can knock down a kick with very little time. So why would you call it with 33 seconds? Instead, what they should have done is called it with a more particular, difficult time frame to work with, right? Maybe call that timeout with 12 seconds. Where the Bills can then risk it, take a knee, try and run everybody out there with, again, 12 seconds. And then it's a very rushed kick. You might have a procedural error, right? You might snap too early. The snapper might not be ready. Prater might not be ready. Like, again, this is a new team. Or the Bills try and run a play, and they, have Josh Allen kind of scramble around and try and throw it out of bounds, after 7, maybe 8 seconds. So then there's 4 seconds left on the clock. But if Josh Allen throws that out of bounds too early, right? Maybe there's 8 seconds on the clock. If they kick the field goal, Ravens get a kick return chance. If he scrambles around and for some reason fumbles the ball, gets tackled in bounds, right? That ends the game. So that, provides that chance. If they want to, they can just do exactly what they did. Take a knee, run time, just sprint everybody out there, take that kick just immediately. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. But now you're able to time the snap very, very easily because you just go whenever they fully get set. You have a chance. Or they kick the field goal with 12 seconds because they're like, hey, we don't want to risk potentially missing it. If they kick it with 12 seconds, at least you got a Hail Mary opportunity, right? You have Lamar Jackson, you can throw you probably end up with 8-7 seconds left in the game. Try and return a kick. If you don't return it, throw a Hail Mary or, do a hook and lateral, whatever play call you want to do for your end of game situation. That's how that timeout needs to be used. And it's ridiculous to see how coaches don't understand the value of timeouts. It's like the one aspect where the NFL is behind on how to actually do it because they don't understand. I don't understand how they don't understand how to utilize timeouts. It's ridiculous. But that's how that timeout needs to be used, rather than just stupidly calling it with 33 seconds or whatever it was called with. The other aspect that was frustrating, this was pointed out to me after the game. I wasn't necessarily, I usually do think about these things, but I was kind of like, I'm good with going for 2 or I'm good for going with 1. Why did the Ravens not go for 2 after their final Derrick Henry touchdown? Tyler Loop ended up missing the PAT, which is why it kind of looks really bad. But him making that PAT, the Bills go for 2 less times, so it doesn't really change the game. But going for 2, the Ravens would make it a 3-possession game. The Ravens were up 15. Why would you not go for 2, make it a 3-possession game, and put the nail in the coffin, or at least attempt to? Do they have that much PTSD from going for 2 to win the game against the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round? Is that why? Or do they just not think situational football, which is why, again, consistently they completely fall apart, is their lack of situational football awareness. But go for 2. 3-possession game. The other problem with Harbaugh was just the play calling. And this is why the Ravens blow leads every single year and almost every single time against good teams, why they blow these leads, is they drop into prevent defense so early. I mean, they'll do it at the start of the 4th quarter. And that is why Josh Allen and Mahomes and Burrow and all these great quarterbacks that the Ravens play and the Ravens struggle to hold on to the leads for, they just dice them up because the Ravens 4-man pass rush, the coaches have to know, like, they're not going to get home because they haven't gotten home all game at the start of the fourth quarter. They got one sack in the fourth quarter, and Nnamdi Madubuike. But other than that, you have to know that the Bills are just going to march down the field if you go prevent. And they are just finding these crossers, these 15 to 25 yard pass plays just almost every single time because we're not getting home and we're playing over the top too aggressively. And by being too aggressive, it's actually an overly conservative play call. And then we see on offense, we're extremely conservative on offense. We're just basically running the ball, trying to chew the clock, not run our traditional offense. So the Bills are able to just completely stack the box and shut down the Ravens run game. Like Ravens, John Harbaugh, if you're going to be that conservative, just call 3 kneels. Just call 3 kneels in a row. And it is more effective because you have no chance of fumbling. But when the Bills can throw 8 or 9 in a box because they know the Ravens are, they're just scared to play with a lead. They know they're just going to try and run the ball. Just take a knee because you're not getting that first down. You're not. And that casual approach to playing with a lead is why the Ravens consistently blow so many. And it's very frustrating as Ravens fans because it's happened throughout Harbaugh's entire career. He leads the NFL history books with the most double-digit blown leads. And it's because he's wildly conservative when he has a lead. I'd rather put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands and have him win it. Whether it's the last play of the game or it's the fourth quarter, allow him to continue to attack rather than letting the foot off the gas. And that's what the Ravens did, and that's why the Ravens lose these types of games. At least 2 games every year they lose just like that. But those are my thoughts on the coaching collapse, the Harbaugh debacle, if you want to call it. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more. I'll be live on TikTok later today, right before the Monday Night Football game. So if you guys want to come check that out, TTP Ravens. But thank you so much, and I'll see all of you again later.